And here come the rewinds of 2020. It was a tumultuous year for the mutual fund industry. And lest you forget all those tumultuous events, Sumaira is here with that rewind. Tell us, Sumaira.
2020 proved to be quite a dampener for mutual fund investors. But it did begin on a high note with investors pouring in their savings. But as you can see, the end of the year has only seen consistent outflows. Remember, this June, I'll come back to it. Three big issues caused a lot of heartburn this year. The most outrage was reserved for the winding up of 6 managed credit schemes by Franklin Templeton India, which were managing assets in excess of 25,000 crores. The Yes Bank 81 issue, where the Reserve Bank moved to write down the value to zero, also hurt investor sentiment and quite a bit. The outrage continued when the same was repeated with Lakshmi Vilas Bank. The Franklin episode, in fact, saw 22,000 crore rupees of redemptions from debt funds in a matter of 3 days, when the entire category at that time was roughly about 1 lakh crore, right? So almost a quarter. Things did stabilize for the debt fund industry by June, but that's when the equity side started misbehaving. You remember that figure? Flows dropped by 96% from the previous month, and this continued selling is what we saw through the remainder of 2020. Another contentious episode this year was the announcement of the strict investment norms for multi-cap funds in September end, something which was swiftly corrected in early November by the introduction of the flexi-cap category. The market regulator SEBI also introduced the new Riskometer, a comprehensive new formula which will allow investors to track the level of risk taken at a scheme level, and it's effective from the 1st of Jan. It was also mandated that liquid funds invest a minimum of 10% in liquid assets, and stress tests were made mandatory. As well as a fallout of the Yes Bank 81 bond episode, SEBI said only institutional buyers could buy 81 bonds, and that too in lots of 1 crore. While the industry assets dipped to a little over 22 lakh crores when the market hit its lows in March, the AUM did recover to about 30 lakh crores by November, led by the swelling of NAVs and, of course, the market at all-time highs. SBI became the first AMC to cross 4 lakh crores in assets, making it the largest by far. But the bummer was the negative returns by liquid funds again during the horror show that was March. And there was a record number of NFOs this year, 115. So the main talk during 2020 basically revolved around Franklin Templeton, defaults, active versus passive, and we all came to know what ESG stands for. NFOs were being sold in every nook and cranny. Remember, there were 115 after all. And of course, international exposure, which, by the way, did very well as a theme. So what do we look forward to in 2021? Well, almost immediately, we look forward to the result of the winding up vote of Franklin Templeton, and the next vote to decide on the liquidation process is expected in Jan 2.
All right, Sumaira, thanks a lot for that. As Sumaira just mentioned, one of the big buzzwords of 2020 was ESG. If you're still wondering what that is, let's go across to my colleague Sonal to find out more. Sonal, over to you.
Thank you so much for that, Sonia. Well, absolutely. 2020 saw ESG investing gaining a lot of traction, with companies and asset management funds focusing on the parameters set under ESG, that is environment, sustainability and governance. In fact, at present, around 4% of the global AUM is now ESG focused, which compares with just 0.3% that is in 2010. And if we look at the total number of funds, ESG funds now contribute to 8.5% of the total funds. That compares with 2% 10 years back. While companies like Infosys has already achieved the zero carbon emission promise, many business houses like Reliance, Tata's, Mahindra, JSW Group, Vedanta, etc., they have committed to carbon neutrality and are taking steps towards it. Now let's look at ESG scores of companies in different sectors. Infosys, in fact, that tops the IT sector with an average score of 82. In industrials, it is Adani Ports, Jubilant Life Sciences in pharmaceuticals, BPCL in energy sector. We have HUL in consumer sectors, Tata Chemicals, HDFC Bank, L&T are the big ESG leaders in their respective sectors. And overall, it's Infosys that tops the list with 70.1 as the overall score. General trends suggest that manufacturing companies on an average score far better than service companies, and private sector companies perform better than public companies. A Jefferies report suggested that Indian stocks with good ESG scores have outperformed 40%, that is since 2011, and the misunderstood ESG category companies like ITC and NTPC have underperformed. And if we look now at the MSCI India ESG fund performance versus MSCI India performance, well, it has consistently been performing better in last 1, 3, 5 years and also till date, as well as returns ranging somewhere between 8 to 14%. In fact, a number of mutual fund houses have launched ESG funds in 2020, with the most recent one being Kotak ESG Fund in December. Around 6 funds have been launched in 2020 itself, and Quantum ESG Fund that was launched in 2019. The oldest one in the country is SBI Quantum Equity ESG Fund, and it looks like we can see a lot more of them in 2021 as well. Back to you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Sonal, for that, explaining to us what ESG is and what the big fuss was all about in 2020. But let's now hop across to Lata. She has a very interesting guest with her. So, Lata, over to you.
Hello and welcome to the year that wasn't. You know, in the last few days, I must have done some 200 shows on Rewind 2020. I finally decided to cut through the clutter and get the best in business. Joining me now is TV personality, anchor, actor, political satirist and prankster, Cyrus Broacha. Cyrus, thank you very much.
I'm impressed.
Okay, well.
Lata, thank you so much. I mean, I wish you could come to all my functions. That's fabulous. Normally just say कि कोई out of work actor आ गया stage पे. This is fabulous.
Maybe, but what I know, some of your secrets, Cyrus, that's why I'm introducing the way I am. Cyrus is actually, purely by playing pranks on people, earned so much money that he's actually an investment brain. And that's why, Cyrus, I and my viewers are going to stick to the knitting and stick with economy and investment questions. So the first question to you is about the economy. The state of the economy is something that's caused worry. A lot of economists, like those in Standard & Poor and Moody's, believe the economy has contracted by 10%. What are your estimates?
As a student of Fred Marshall's theory of economics, I just want to put it out there. I'm a one-year LLB, so I know what I'm talking about. Obviously, CNBC is not going to waste their time with someone who's not from the financial field, so to speak. Okay. So, as you quite rightly mentioned, I think first let's look at the fact that it's been a very strange year. It's a unique year. So, I had the little money that I have where I've tried to invest. We've had difficulty getting returns in terms of phone calls. Forget actual returns. Okay, so the buck literally stopped there, if to use a phrase. The second thing is, you can look at it in perspective, and the first few months were terrible. But the people around me, because where I changed my clothes, there are a lot of bankers, etc. It's something I can't explain on this show.
Oh God!
But they believe that the last 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a little more, from Diwali onwards, we've had a decent surge.
Okay.
Maybe surge is not the right word.
Okay.
A slight fillip,
okay,
so to speak. So things are looking better in terms of investing, where the first 6 months we were in a coma, literally. Okay. And I think nobody was prepared for that, as you guys must have discussed day in and day out in all those dark days. But I see a light somewhere in the tunnel.
Let me come to the Reserve Bank. I make my bread and butter covering the Reserve Bank of India. And the Reserve Bank has hinted that we should continue with the monetary policy framework, and the CPI target of 4% plus or minus 2% should be something that should be valid for the next 5 years. Your comments?
Firstly, CPI to me is a Communist Party of India. I don't know what they'd be doing in a bank in any case, because their philosophies are antithetical of each other. Okay. Minus 2 plus 2, very good with numbers. We Indians generally are. So I'll say fine. But for 5 years, isn't that a little cynical?
Okay.
I would think.
Okay.
I would expect them to lie a little at least. And by the way, the Reserve Bank
this is inflation, so it should not be too high. If it is lower, it's better.
What you're saying is I'm such an idiot, I didn't understand the reverse is true.
Oh,
okay,
yes.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough. But I don't like these 5-year predictions.
Okay.
That's how we've seen this, as in cricket, as in life, as in marriage. These 5 and 10-year predictions don't work for me, except for the fact that you have blue chip companies who will stay the course, and that's not a 5-year thing, that's God knows when. It's actually a belief that you never actually break the bank, so to speak, in that case. But I'm a little shifty about the 5 years thing. I think we should look at more like a 1 year situation at a time rather than a 5 and 7 year perspective.
I think that's very good advice. I'll pass it on to the Reserve Bank of India in case they have missed
Well, they change
this
governors
show
every
of the year.
weekend. They change governors every weekend. So what the hell? Give me a crack.
Okay. There are governors and governors. We are speaking about a different kind of governor. Okay, speaking about the Communist Party of India, that question was uppermost in my mind. Who do you think will win the West Bengal elections, and what impact will it have on markets?
This is a tough one. This is when you go to your in-laws to eat, and your mother's sitting with you, and they ask you whether you like your mother-in-law's cooking better than your mother. I mean, this is a tough one. You want to take on the TMC or the BJP? Either way, you lose. I mean, I would like to say Congress. I want to find some other party, but no, I think TMC will hold, in spite of all the defections and all the, let's say, the horse trading that will happen and is happening. I somehow feel the last time before lockdown when I was in Kolkata, still she seems to have more support. We talk to the person who's driving the car. You talk to the person in the hotel. You talk to people, clients, the people you meet. She still has a sway, a big sway. She's a very charismatic figure, whether you like it or not. So Mr. Shah is doing his best, but I think she'll hold.